It now appears the seal of the Catholic confessional is safe in the state of California. As we've been reporting in recent weeks, proposed legislation threatened to force priests to violate the sanctity of confession in certain cases. Joining me now to talk about the proposed legislation, now withdrawn by its sponsor, is the president of the Catholic League and author of Common Sense Catholicism, How to Resolve Our Cultural Crisis. Dr. Bill Donahue joins us from Manhattan. Bill, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
What were the circumstances under which this bill, SB 360, was pulled? I mean, it looked for a time that it was likely to pass.
Well, it did, but, you know, we have to give the credit to Archbishop Gomez, the Archbishop of Los Angeles, for starting the fight. I'm very happy the Catholic League played a major ancillary role, getting tens of thousands of people, of Catholics, to email the people involved in this, the lawmakers, because unless we have pressure, these things are not going to get done just by having sound bites by somebody on a TV show. You've got to actually organize and mobilize. And once the message got through, and by the way, we were joined by black churches, by Muslims, by Orthodox Christians, evangelicals, and when people realize what's at stake, you're allowing the government of the United States to police a sacrament. And if they can break the seal of the confession, then that's it. So our First Amendment rights are gone.
Bill, Archbishop Gomez, whom you mentioned a moment ago, of Los Angeles, he wrote in an official statement, SB 360 was a dangerous piece of legislation. If any legislature can force believers to reveal their innermost thoughts and feelings shared with God in confession, then truly there is no area of human life that is free or safe from government. We cannot allow the government to enter into our confessionals to dictate the terms of our personal relationship with Jesus. What was at stake here, Bill? I mean, it's amazing to me. Roe v. Wade finds a constitutional right to privacy, but California was about to erode and destroy the privacy of faithful, believing Catholics.
Yes, and let's keep in mind, too, what about lawyer-client privileges?
Right.
You have states like New Hampshire where they're protected, but the priest penitent is not. And then you have the doctor and the patient. You have a lot of examples, a journalist and his source. What was at stake here, of course, was the First Amendment. If the government can encroach on religion to this extent and try to police it in the name of some greater good, then we're all finished. And by the way, the guy who pushed this, a representative, or senator rather, Jerry Hill, he said that the predicate for this legislation was the fact that there's no end to the systemic abuse of children that is being learned in the confessional. So I wrote to him and asked him to identify one case. Just give me one case. He just simply made this up out of whole cloth as a pretext to get the nose of the camel into the tent of the Catholic Church. And once they get in there on this, there's no stopping it where they can go. It was based on a false premise in the first place. And besides the fact, as I pointed out and many others, how in the world are you going to enforce this?
That's what I was
we're not the only religion.
Yeah, how are you going to enforce this?
You're not going to enforce this. No priest is going to accept this. Pope Francis recently came out with a pretty strong statement, said, you know, we'll basically go to the mat. He used the word blood that priests would shed before they're going to divulge this. So this whole thing was a scam run by some people who have an animus against the Catholic Church, will use any excuse they can to try and get the government to tell us what to do. This is important, though, for people on our side to understand. At the Catholic League, we put the email address of the offending party, whether it's this case or some other case, on the website. People contact. I can't do this by myself. We can be generals at the Catholic League, but you don't win a war without the troops. The people participate, and we're the only lay Catholic organization in the United States that's going to do this. Let's face it, the others won't do it at all. They may talk a good talk. We're engaged in the actual battle of it, and that's how you change the culture, by standing up for your rights. We need more than prayer. Yes, we need prayer first and foremost, but you got to follow it up.
Bill, I want to move on to this representative, a Philadelphia representative, Brian Sims. Now, Sims recently made headlines. He verbally attacked an elderly woman who was outside of a Planned Parenthood clinic. There were teenage girls, and they had the audacity to be praying there. And he verbally abused them. It's all on tape. In fact, I want to show a little clip of this. Watch. You are asking what, Bill, from the Pennsylvania legislature in light of what we just saw?
I'm asking him for him to be censured. At first, we went to the ethics committee, and then I was told that here are the rules for that, and it didn't really meet that requirement because that was more a conflict of interest. So what we decided to do is to continue to ask for censure, and we were supporting a Representative Jerry Knowles of Pennsylvania, who's a good man. If this guy shouldn't even be a dog catcher, I mean this seriously. There's no place in public life. He's a misogynist. He picks only on vulnerable women, old ladies or young girls. What, for the crime of praying outside a Planned Parenthood clinic because he's so wrapped up in the LGBTQ agenda that this is what he wants to do? I don't care, Republican or Democrat, doesn't make any difference whatsoever. This man doesn't belong in public life. So at the very least, he should be censured. And we're asking all of our members in Pennsylvania to contact their representative. If they've co-sponsored the bill already with Representative Knowles, congratulate them. If they haven't, please tell them to get on board. This matter is not over. They're not going to come back until after Labor Day in the Pennsylvania legislature, but we want him censured because if he can get away with this, people, we're just going to be a doormat. This would never happen if it was some other group, and we have to stand up for our rights. And on our website, again, we give the contact. Representative
Brian Sims has not acknowledged any wrongdoing, and he apparently refuses to apologize. Were you shocked by that?
Actually, I was. I thought he'd have enough brains to at least understand that you can't get away with this kind of thing. But you know what? If he wants to fight, that's what we do with the Catholic League. We just need our troops out there to support us. Again, you got to get to the Pennsylvania lawmakers and support Representative Jerry Knowles on this. At the very least, he has to be censured. Quite frankly, anybody living in his district shouldn't vote for this guy again. Remember that Al Franken and people like that, they did things which were wrong, but they did them before they were in office. This is a sitting representative in an important big state in Pennsylvania, and he's unapologetic about his anti-Catholic bigotry. He ripped into the Catholic Church as he's berating and bullying these women. He's a misogynist. He's an anti-Catholic bigot. This guy does not belong in public life, and I hope people contact Representative Jerry Knowles and let him know of your support.
I want to ask you about another situation. The Archbishop of Indianapolis, Charles Thompson, is taking some heat for speaking out against the employment of two gay men at a local Catholic school, or a series of schools in his archdiocese. The two men claim to be civilly married to each other, and his critics have said the Archbishop is completely out of line, and meanwhile, the Archbishop is citing church teaching. Your reaction, what's happening there?
I would say it's even more basic than that, Raymond. It's called a workplace contract. These people voluntarily signed a contract when they went to the school. One was a Jesuit school, and the other one was a diocesan school, to uphold Catholic teaching. Now, they weren't discreet about the fact that they were, quote, married. They made it public. In other words, they were waiting and looking for a showdown. This is happening across the country. This is not by accident, people. They know what they're doing. It's part of the gay agenda, the radical gay agenda, to force a court fight. So what else was the Archbishop supposed to do? Quite frankly, the comments by the Jesuit president there were rather lame. He's saying that, you know, we have to respect people's conscience rights. As I pointed out, if you had somebody who said, look, I'm a white supremacist, but I only do my Klan march on the weekend. I teach math at the Jesuit high school. I'm not going to get involved in proselytizing to white nationalists. They'd throw him out in a New York minute. Yeah. So I applaud the Archbishop Thompson for standing up for Catholic principles and against people who are trying to bully the Catholic Church, and that's what this is about. It's not two innocent guys who fell in love. Please, please, I'm getting too old to believe this nonsense.
Bill, I've seen on Twitter and other places, people like Father James Martin and others have said, wait a minute, we don't police the bedrooms of other teachers at universities or at schools. We don't know who they're sleeping with or whether they're divorced. All of this violates Catholic teaching, too. You would say what?
Well, where are we going to go? Are we going to have an inquisition? Is that what he wants? Are we going to have a situation now where you're going to bust the privacy of everybody? This wasn't something that was done in private. Again, it was the public nature that drew out the Archbishop. when you violated the contract, you made it public. This idea is, talk about a lame excuse that Father Martin has. It's pitiful that anybody would try to defend this by saying, we want the government to find out what you're doing or you're taking birth control. Nobody's arguing for that. That's a red herring. It's bogus, it's false, and it has no place in this conversation.
Also this week, Bill, Gallup released a poll showing a decline in America's public confidence in the church or organized religion. 36% had a great deal of confidence. 36% had some confidence. 29% said they had very little or no confidence. That was the lowest degree of confidence, by the way, measured since 1973. Now, Bill, you looked deeper at these numbers. What did you find?
Well, number one, 72% of the public does think favorably of the churches. Number two, it's not surprising their numbers wouldn't be particularly good given the media attack, particularly on the Catholic Church, but not exclusively. Number three, you had 15 institutions that they asked the American people, which we respect. Religion came in number 6. That wasn't emphasized enough in the report. And at the bottom, what did we have? The media. The media came in with TV and the newspapers at 12 and 14. And last was the Congress of the United States. So that could have been discussed a little bit more by the narrative of this report. And I think that tells us something, too. The presidency did much better than the Congress. So if they want to make, and the media is down at the bottom, so what does that tell you? The media and the Congress have one thing in common as a takeaway. They love to beat up on this president. If I looked at those numbers, I wouldn't find that too sanguine.
I want to get your thoughts on this finally. Archbishop Charles Chaput had some strong words earlier this week on faith and the relationship to politics. He said this: "We can never accept a separation of our religious faith and moral convictions from our public ministries or our political engagement. It's impossible. And even trying to do so is evil because it forces us to live two different lives, worshiping God at home or in our churches and worshiping the latest version of Caesar everywhere else." Bill, strong words from the Archbishop. He'll be 75 in September and resigning, a resignation Pope Francis will likely accept. Your reaction to his statement and his pending resignation?
Well, as far as the statement, it's beautifully constructed. Notice he didn't say he doesn't want a wall, but he doesn't want to collapse the wall between church and state. He's a smart man. He chooses his word carefully. He's talking about political engagement and your religious faith. If you think that you're going to put that aside, you might as well call it a day. We have a mission. It's not just in Vatican II, but we've been called as lay Catholics in particular to stand up for our faith, whether it's in Pennsylvania, Indiana, California, or wherever it may be. We have to bring our moral convictions to the table. After all, we fought a war against slavery in this country, didn't we? That was based on moral convictions. We had Reverend Martin Luther King speaking out against racism. That was a religiously informed conscience. So we should be proud of these moments in American history. And as far as the Archbishop Chaput, my only regret is that he wasn't made Pope.
We'll leave it there. Bill Donahue, the author of Common Sense Catholicism, How to Resolve Our Cultural Crisis. It's available at bookstores everywhere, including EWTN's catalog at EWTNRC.com. Bill Donahue, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.